Do 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 do. I tested this Fringer adapter every way to Sunday. By the way, these are some of the images from the Fujifilm. I use both the X-T3 and the X-T30, but these are images from the X-T30. It's kind of weird metadata down here. Fujifilm X-T3, Canon EF 135mm f2. The only reason I was also testing a Sigma lens, I didn't buy this, I borrowed it, because a buddy of mine wanted me to test this lens. It is the new Sigma 135mm f1.8, a DG, an insanely heavy lens. Oddly enough, that it slipped out of my hands and fell onto the table about a foot, and I heard a crunch, and I thought I broke it, but no, it was just the cap. It was the first time in like years I've dropped the lens, and I was like, oh my god, I dropped the lens that I don't own, and it's really expensive, and the front element is huge. I was like, whew, I didn't break it. It's okay to break your own shit, but you don't break the lenses that you borrow from other people. That's really bad. Let's get to it right now. I've got the Canon EF 135mm f2, and the prior video to this, by the way, and I'm getting to the review. Hold on a minute, damn it. The prior video to this, was reviewing this lens. I thought for giggles, because I take lens reviews very seriously, I would review the Canon 130, and this lens is just like one of the best lenses ever made, period. Just ungodly incredible. Just off the scale, crotch melting. Shut the hell up. Oh my god, what an effing lens. It's literally that good. Anyway, this is the, and I'm so glad I got this, is a new Fringer Pro 2 adapter, second version. There's been 3 improvements over the first version. It's basically $300. I'll put a link to the website below if you're interested in getting it. And of course, there's a portal here for firmware updating for compatibility. And there's a long laundry list of not only Sigma, but and of course, this is a Canon lens. This is the Canon EF 135mm f2. And of course, the Sigma is a Canon mount lens also for using almost all Canon glass. And there's a laundry list on his website for this, the Fringer adapter. I was trying to, since I can actually now say I wrote the book on Fujifilm. I can actually say that now. I'm going to start doing that in every video. It sounds so egotistical, but then you go, yeah, but it's true. He did write the book on Fujifilm. I was trying to confuse this adapter. I was using it, and by the way, and I was actually very technical in testing this. Okay? I was, but let me first start out telling you what I did and how it performed and where there was a slight glitch, but not really, and it could be updated with firmware. Indoors, and by the way, of course, this lens, and people are like, oh, well, that's an older lens. I'm sure it didn't perform that well. Yeah, shut the heck up. I'm getting to the point. I know this is an older lens. This one is a much newer lens, and it did perform better. Indoors, both of these lenses where you have, not really bright lighting, indoor lighting, whether I was choosing zone or single point, and I made sure to try to confuse this adapter to see how it would interface and communicate with the lenses using very, very tiny single point autofocus, which you would normally never do, but I was trying to push it. And both these lenses, even though like the Canon, for example, 135mm f2 is old, it's still a silent wave motor. Both of these lenses performed faster than greased lightning. Faster than you're running to the bathroom after eating one of those greasy bean burritos from Taco Hell. My God, really fast. Perfect. Didn't even have to stick it in zone. Like, I was using small autofocus points and single point, not zone mode, to purposely try to get this adapter to screw up in interfacing for decent autofocus indoors. And I couldn't do it indoors at all. Lots of testing both these lenses indoors under normal lighting conditions, both low light and using these lights here that are pointed at my face. I'm talking about low lights. Obviously, you can focus on this sort of lighting. Outdoors, I tried to do the same, confusing these lenses outdoors with the adapter. Not confusing the lenses, it's the interface communication and the firmware that's built into this, of course, that I'm actually testing and how it communicates with the Fujifilm. Very good performance. The issue is on both of these, if this adapter in very bright conditions outdoors prefers single point, a larger single point, but it does not prefer zone autofocus. I tested that on both the X-T30 and X-T3. So there is a nuance there that is different than native Fujifilm lenses on Fujifilm cameras. That's not something that you would ever do with Fujifilm cameras and Fujifilm lenses. But I discovered that quickly, and I adapted to that such that I would not have that problem. Just like really, really bright conditions, don't go into the smaller intermediate zone boxes. Don't do it. You think, and normally that's counterintuitive to how Fujifilm work, and I know how Fujifilm autofocus works. I can actually say I wrote the book on it. That you go into a zone, you actually have more to work with as far as finding, whether it be phase detect or contrast detect autofocus, something to lock onto very quickly. And I was not talking about difficult situations. It was having issues in zone, in bright lighting conditions. I'm not actually writing this adapter. I'm just saying this is a nuance that I discovered. It's like, I know now, since I've learned on this adapter, that super bright light conditions, don't stick it in zone autofocus. Stick it in a single point of some kind. Continuous autofocus indoors, no problem. Works just the same as Fujifilm. Outdoors, continuous autofocus, fine. Same thing though, not in zone. You go into subdued lighting, which I did outdoors, underneath the trees where everything was kind of subdued and mottled, just the sun isn't beating you over the head. Doesn't like that. Not for zone autofocus. For single autofocus, everything's fine. So, am I saying the performance on this is awesome? No, I didn't say that like 5 minutes ago. I said indoors it's actually incredible. Outdoors, you have to understand that this works with these Canon mount lenses slightly different and slightly counterintuitive to what you would normally set for your Fujifilm lenses. It's something I quickly discovered. I quickly adapted to that, and it's like, really, really bright conditions, don't stick it in zone autofocus. Go into a single size of some sort. Okay, brain, okay. And then it's no problem. I don't know why that is the case. That's obviously a bidirectional communication thing. It might be nothing that can be fixed via firmware, but I mean, does it have to be? You can say it's a nuance. I mean, everything is different in its own way. Fujifilm menus are different. Everything is different in its own way. So interfacing Canon mount lenses to the Fujifilm adapter, that's the only nuance that I found. Is that an issue or a problem? No, it just means that when you're using this adapter in Canon mount lenses, super bright outside, don't stick it in zone autofocus. So I made that abundantly clear. Is that a weak point of this adapter? I don't really think so. Like I said, there is an autofocus, excuse me, brain fart there for a minute. There is a port for a firmware update. This is the 2. The construction is actually extremely good. I've got more adapters than God. At $300, I mean, could it or should it be around $250 or so? I don't really know that. I can't say that. The construction is actually extremely good. I've seen Sigma's adapters, for example, for adapting Sigma Canon glass to Sony. I mean, I've seen really good CPU pass-through adapted lens adapters, excuse me. And where does this, I'm not seeing one that's made better than this. Actually, I've seen a couple really, really expensive Nikon adapters. Yeah, just very, very slightly better. So on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 9.5. So no one's going to bitch. And by the way, this is the Pro version, which is the most expensive version, and it has an aperture ring that works really, really well. As so far as you learning how to use this, just like that. And if you actually slide it all the way over here, it'll go into program mode. In other words, I always shoot aperture priority most of the time, and I'll just, do this with adjusting the aperture like I did with either one of these lenses. It took me 5 seconds to learn how to do that. I keep sliding it all the way over, and then boom, it goes into program mode, which I never use program mode, i.e. all fully automatic, both shutter and aperture. I never do that, but anyway, that's how this works. The clicks are consistent. It's not sloppy. There's no slop or play in the aperture ring on this Pro adapter. There's no burrs, an issue with cheap adapters, as you'll notice burrs or machining issues that were never taken off before plating or after plating, and this one does not have that issue at all. So no one's going to complain about the quality of this piece because the piece is extremely high quality. I just noticed that they did a firmware update on the Pro 2 on the 21st of April, and I must confess that I had not checked the firmware version on this yet. You can do that actually by checking it vis-a-vis how you normally check lens and camera firmware on the Fujifilm camera. And before making this video, I did not check if this Pro 2 version has the firmware update from 2 weeks ago. It probably does, but the release notes for that newest firmware do not indicate a compatibility issue with either this lens. Actually, it does. It's supposed to be improvements on this lens, the 135mm f1.8 Sigma. However, this lens was just blasting fast. I'm no lover of Sigma. I just borrowed this lens to test it for a buddy. He wanted me to test this lens, so I've tested it. And I'll talk about that to him privately, because I don't test Sigma lenses, as everybody knows. So, my God, this Canon lens, though, is just incredible. I mean, that's straight out of camera. I mean, that's just effing believable. Just crotch melting perfection. I mean, just shut the, and you know, this is kind of, that's straight out of camera. Jesus. I mean, the bokeh on this lens, the saturation. You think I'd using a crummy Sigma lens and dragging the saturation slider. It's like, no, this is straight out of camera. Unbelievable. What a hell of a lens. Oh my God. I knew this lens was really good, but not that good. But anyway, this video is about the Fringer adapter. This is, by the way, people are like, why do you need that? Fujifilm's got so many lenses, and yeah, they do, and I own all of them. But one thing they really don't have, and there are a lot of people that agree with me, is this. You know, if Fujifilm made an exact replica of this, oh my God, Fujifilm. They'll say, well, they got the 90mm f2. Well, the 90mm f2, for all its wonderful attributes, like its autofocus speed, it doesn't have the bokeh of this, doesn't have the micro contrast of this. That lens is very sharp. This lens is, look how sharp this is. I mean, shut the hell up. This lens is incredible. I can absolutely say this lens renders better on this Fujifilm with an adapter than it does on its own low dynamic range, crummy Canon DSLRs. And that's the reason why I don't own Canon. I mean, I appreciate some of Canon's glass, but I hate Canon DSLRs because they suck for many reasons, including bad autofocus and poor dynamic range, and other reasons. Anyway, this Fringer, yeah, but there is about 10% of Canon glass. It's just incredible. And this is, whew. I always knew this lens was good, but this lens is amazing. But this video is not about this lens. It's about the Fringer adapter. This is an extremely worthwhile purchase, not only if you don't have any Canon glass like me, or if you have Canon glass. So, well, I'm thinking of moving over to Fujifilm, but, you know, I don't want to get rid of my Canon glass. Well, you don't have to get rid of your Canon glass. Get the Fringer adapter and use it on your Fujifilm. It's actually worthwhile having this adapter. It's well made and it works really good. It does have a nuance, as I already noted over and over and over again in this video. But it is an incredibly nice adapter. I'm actually buying this lens. I know where I can find a cheap copy of it used, and since I have this adapter, I'm actually buying this lens now. I borrowed this lens, but I am going to buy this lens because it is just, oh my God. But I wouldn't consider buying that lens without this. But now that I have it and I realize how good it works, I am buying this lens. The 135mm f2, I'm definitely not buying the Sigma. No. People are like, what are you doing testing a Sigma lens? Anyway, I hope you like this video. If you do, you could always drop a dime, tell me how much you can't stand me, or, you know. But I don't sell anything, so, you know, I just want you to be happy. All that good stuff. Hasta luego, do svidaniya, увидимся, peace out, Girl Scout. Go strip down to your underwear and grab a bag of popcorn and watch your favorite TV show. Okay? That's what I'm going to do. Goodbye.